From the previous module, you understand that Azure AD can be used to designate separate administrators to serve different functions. Administrators can be designated in the Azure AD portal to perform tasks such as adding users, changing, assigning admin roles, resetting user passwords, managing user licenses, and several other activities like that. One of the most powerful role in Azure AD is Global Administrator. A global administrator has all the administrative access in Azure Active Directory. By default, the person who signs up for an Azure subscription is assigned the global admin role for the directory. Only global administrators can assign other admin roles. For now, I will navigate to the Azure Active Directory section and show you where roles are configured. Now, once you launch Azure Active Directory from the Azure portal, scroll down to the point where you see roles and administrators. Now, here are all the roles that we have in Azure Active Directory. One such role is the Global Administrator. Now, if you look at this role and read the description, it says that it can manage all the aspects of Azure AD and Microsoft services that use Azure AD identities. And that means that any user that is assigned to this role will then become a global administrator and hence becoming the most powerful entity that can manage the users, groups, and anything related to identities in Azure Cloud. Going back to the roles and administrator section and resetting this to default, just wanted to take a look at all the roles that we have here. Now, if you are very curious about a particular role, let's say Azure DevOps Administrator, and you want to know what it does, all you got to do is click on Description. And then you will see very granular details about what that role can do. So let's take a look at few of these options. Now, just by looking at it, looks like any user who is assigned to this role can read the contacts of the property of Azure Active Directory. I would like you to read some of these descriptions to understand more about a role in this section. Going back to roles and administrators again, you can observe and manage all the members of the administrative roles in Azure Active Directory portal from this console. When you are viewing a roles member, you can observe the complete list of permissions granted by that role assignment. Now, this list that you see under the description is nothing but complete list of permissions that will be assigned to a user when you link this role to that user or a group. I also want to stress on a point that access does not need to be granted to an entire subscription. There are roles out here that can be assigned for resource groups as well as for individual resources. In Azure Role-Based Access Control, a resource inherits role assignments from its parent resources. What does that mean? It means that if you assign a permission at a resource group level or even at a subscription level, it will be inheriting down from the resource group to the resources underneath it. We know that from the previous section that management groups are the topmost entity in the hierarchy. So if you assign permissions at the management group level, the permissions will then flow down from the management group to the subscription, and from the subscription to the resource group, and from that resource group to the bottom into the resources level. So a resource will always inherit role assignments from its parent resources. So if a user, group, or a service is granted access to only a resource group within a subscription, they will be able to access only that resource group and the resources within it, and not other resource groups within the subscription. Let's understand more about how role definitions are created. What runs in the background? Is it JSON or an XML? How does that work? Let's take a look at that in the next lesson.